Welcome back to the KDLT Sports video blog. He didn't shrink and I didn't grow. Our chairs are just really out of whack today.
Really out of whack.
Yeah. He's the boss, Mark Ovenden, sports director, also hosts Calling All Sports. I'm the weekend anchor. Got a lot to talk about, most of it involving the Sioux Falls Stampede. It's been a lot's been happening this last week.
How's it feel to be taller than me?
Man, I've waited my whole life to finally be tall.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, congratulations.
Well,
I'm not tall either, but
I think this was my old chair, so I guess fittingly, it's lowered for me. Hey, the Stampede are standing tall. They're the USHL champion for the. How's that for a transition?
Great transition, yeah.
The
well
Stampede
done.
are USHL champions for the second time in their franchise history. First time in 8 years. I gotta imagine maybe this was kind of similar to that 2007 run. This was not necessarily a team that had the best regular season, but kind of proves that adage that the only important thing is to be playing well heading into the playoffs.
That's it. It seems like that's always the way in hockey, whether it's the USHL or the NHL. It's the team. A couple of years ago, the LA Kings were down 3-0 in the first round series and the 8th seed, and they came all the way back to win the whole thing. So it's whoever's playing the best when you get to that point. In fact, it was both fourth seeds from each of their divisions who made the championship. So certainly the top two teams got there, and the top team won. I think the Stampede were playing the best hockey at the end of the year, and they deserved to be the Clark Cup champions.
It's kind of funny because we talked to Dakota Joshua after they won the Western Conference against Tri-City, and by the way, the Stampede swept Muskegon, winning it on home ice.
Oh, by the way,
3.
he was on Calling All Sports earlier in the week, last week, before Game 3, and was considering cutting his hair. And because Friday was his birthday, and he wanted to look good for his birthday, I'm like, you do not cut your hair.
You don't shave, you don't cut your hair.
Yeah, you don't mess the mojo.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take some credit for them winning on Friday night, in addition to the fact that I did not go and shoot the game.
I was about to get that. Yeah, when he shoots, they do not score at all.
So I purposely did not shoot the game because I wanted the
But you did
Stampede
show
to
up. Did you show up for a few minutes, just kind of drink in the 8,000 in the finale of Blue Out? That it was as great as the opening night was with the 10,000, and then you had the Wiener Dog races, which also sold the place out.
And I was at both of those.
Yeah,
but
this was better because they were full. The crowd was fully invested in the hockey game.
Right.
And it was a terrific atmosphere, but. And I'm going to miss Dakota Joshua. He was one of the more fun players to talk to over the last... He's been here parts of 3 seasons now. He said something after the Tri-City game. I kind of said, referencing the Game 5 they won in Sioux City, the weird Game 2 in Tri-City that got postponed because of the water break. He kind of said the feeling of a team of destiny, and you look at what happened, kind of did.
Well, when they went back down to Tri-City and won that second game several days later, that really, if you look back on it, I don't want to say there was a turning point because they had already won that game in Sioux City. I've referenced that game most often when I say, well, when they won that last game at Sioux City, 6-1 and played their best game of the year, you kind of had a feeling. But then they lost the first game to Tri-City. Were hoping to play the next night, had to turn around and come home, wait a couple of days before they went back. And that would have messed a lot of teams up. Yeah. It turned out that it gave them the extra rest that they needed, maybe the extra focus, because
health for sure.
That's when they started. I mean, from that game on, they lost only one game, and that was by 1 goal.
For me, I think it was still that. I still go back to Game 5. Of course, I got to be there for
of the Sioux City.
Yeah, Sioux City.
Right.
Which, I mean, that was the nemesis. That was the rival. That was the best team in the West. They almost were the best team in the whole league. Just blowing an opportunity days earlier to win it on home ice. And not only to go down there and win, I mean, it could have been 3-2, 2-1. It would have been great if it had been 4-2. Go down there and dominate
they blew them off the ice.
That's when you kind of started to think, this team could probably win the Clark Cup.
I agree.
As long as they keep their... And the other thing I was kind of impressed with, too, and it also maybe goes to the whole, it was their year, was just... The way Tri-City came back at them in Game 3, when it was, I think they had a 2-goal lead, it was tied at 3. Ryan Schwalbe gets a fluky goal. Muskegon came back in this third period. earlier in the year, maybe of Game 3, earlier in the year, maybe they lose that game. But they find ways to win. They make some plays, maybe get some puck luck, but
they're a better team at the end of the year.
yeah.
That's, by far a better team because they had such a young team and only 4 guys back from last year. You can't even compare what they were like at the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
They had to make dramatic improvements to get to where they were, and they did, including some really great moves by Cary Eades to improve his team. He made some great trades. All those trades worked out. And when you're trading high school kids and trading them away from their buddies and trading them away from their host families and all that, it's not like professional athletes here. Trades in the USHL never used to happen much. And now suddenly they're happening quite a bit. And I know Cary would like to see the rules changed so there aren't quite so many trades, like more teams get into the playoffs. But regardless, the trades that they made, they would not have won the Clark Cup without those trades.
They were perfect moves. The chemistry of this team is maybe the other thing I'll really remember because we had Kiefer Bellows. Now he's only 16, so this was his first real experience away from home. But talking about how he wishes he could play with these guys for 10 more years. And that was kind of the common sentiment. But you mentioned the move was made by Cary Eades. You go from the top of the mountain, and now all of a sudden, just days later, it appears as though they are going to lose Cary Eades to another team. I'm not going to spoil it completely because it's going to be on KDLT News later tonight, but Stampede players have told us that they do not expect Cary Eades to be back as their head coach next season. There's been reports since during the Tri-City series, mostly out of North Dakota, that Cary is going to take the Fargo Force job. Cary has said something will be announced soon, and again, we're going to hear from the players. They say it all. Surprising. This hurts. This is Fargo's one of their top rivals. I think to lose him be one thing to lose him at all, but to lose him potentially to the Fargo Force that could be a tough blow.
I would agree. I think he's done a good job. Clearly he came in with a more iron-fisted approach to the game as a head coach than Kevin Hartzell. They're two completely different. They're about as opposite as it gets in terms of their personalities and their approach to how they treat their players. But both of them very effective, and you cannot argue with the success that Cary Eades had. He's done a marvelous job. And again, like I said, in addition to his coaching style, he made some great moves. Great moves, picking up some guys. When they got Mikey Isamont on the trade deadline, 10 minutes before the trading deadline,
from Fargo,
ironically, that capped off what was a tremendous revamping of his team. And you look back a couple of years ago when they had all that talent and did not win the cup. He really sensed that they had something here. Most of us never would have guessed that this was kind of supposed to be a rebuilding year, really, for the Stampede, and it turned out to be a championship year. So it was quite the season.
We don't know yet who the new head coach is going to be. It could be in place fairly soon. Franchise has got a lot of advantages now. Obviously, they're in the best facility in the league in the Premier Center. They've also got kind of an underrated thing that happened this year, the best practice facility when they moved out to the Shields Iceplex. We'll see what happens. Again, we're expecting something with that to officially be announced. Be interesting seeing Cary come back with Fargo if that is the case, but we'll learn more about that in the coming days.